Welcome viewers, this is Winch here. I spent a long time on this video. This is a topic that I want to hit hard because it's an observation I made day in, day out about Battlefield 4. And I want to talk about carbines, the whole class of carbines. Call it the Carbification of Battlefield 4. So I'm going to run through the mainstream carbines, and the stats here that'll be popping up are courtesy of Simtech.com. And I want to talk about the statistical representation of these weapons, the applicable use of these weapons, the practical application that is, and just talk in general about my feelings about this class. And I encourage your guys' feedback and response on this, and please leave comments. But what I want to talk about is, and ask to you guys, and I know you'll say no, at least the guys that, most of you guys that use these weapons, are these weapons, the carbines, overpowered? Now, my synopsis is that they are really overused. You remember the M16A3 in Battlefield 3? Well, this class to me feels like the M16A3 of Battlefield 3, and that being that everybody uses them. And in particular, and I'm not here to bring out stats of people, but if you pull up the top ranked players out there, beast players, you pull up their stats and you look at them, look at their top 5 most used weapons, and I guarantee you a carbine is going to be in one of those classes, if not all those classes of weapons, or those top 5 weapons. And I see that on a consistent basis. The AK-5C, the ACE-21, the ACE-52, they're all going to be making an appearance here in this video, and I'm not here to attack those players for utilizing these weapons. But I'm here as a YouTube producer and as an avid Battlefield fan. I make observations, and the trend I'm seeing, and it's kind of the quiet gorilla in the room that nobody really wants to talk about, but I'm here to kind of shed some light on this topic because it's what I'm starting to really kind of maybe take a little bit of a negative perspective on, because it's frustrating to me that we have 80 plus weapons in Battlefield 4, but everybody just sticks to one broad category of weapon criteria, which wasn't available in Battlefield 3. And this is a big game changer here. Oh, by the way, if you're getting killed by an F2000, well, let's just move into the next segment of the video here. How about a weapon that's on par with that, the SG-553? I would rather have an SG-553 over a F2000 that shoots basically the same fire rate, but reloads much quicker, has practically the identical same damage model, and just destroys on the battlefield. This weapon to me, the SG-553, is probably, well, it's my personal best carbine, but I can make the argument it's probably one of the best carbines in the whole grouping. You run with this weapon, you're guaranteed to turn it on and drop assault players or any kind of player, because the damage model of this weapon is just incredible. There's very little recoil, incredibly fast fire rate. Throw a suppressor on it, it amplifies your effectiveness, and you'll see me just tear through teams with this weapon. So again, why I'm comparing this weapon to assault weapons is because carbines, in my experience, have assault-like damage models and relatively the same accuracy. They're not quite as accurate. I mean, there is a difference there statistically, but ask yourself on the average battlefield engagement what range you're in and what distance it is, and really is it going to make a difference in those situations? No, it's not. And in most respects, having a carbine is probably a better option whenever you're in a more close quarters type combat. I don't know if you noticed there, what you will observe is how many times am I killed by carbines. I was just killed by an M21 or MTAR there. I did not bring the MTAR into this footage. Needless to say, I think we are all in agreement. The MTAR is just another beastly carbine just added to the list. So forgive me for not getting the footage in there. I also did not get any footage of the ACE-52. My capture device failed during that, but again, I'll talk about the stats on the ACE-52, but yet again, I think we are all in agreement the ACE-52 is an incredibly, some would argue, and I can't argue against it, an overpowered weapon. What I did here, guys, in this footage is I played 7 consecutive matches on TDM, and I won every one as MVP every one, and I used carbines every one, and I went through each match changing the carbine throughout the match. I start off with the AK-5C, then I went to the AKU-12, and on to the A91, the SG-553, anyway. So each match I would change my carbine, sometimes twice a match, or I would just run with one carbine the whole match. Needless to say, Regardless of what carbine I ran with, it's just so easy to get kills with these guns. And then again, going back to my the synopsis or my title of this video, the carbification of Battlefield is almost like the cottonization of Battlefield in some respects. These weapons to me are very low recoil, they're very accurate, they're very powerful, they have quick reload times. It's very simplistic weapon models, particularly when as most of you know, follow my channel, when I'm coming from support class. Those weapons to me are very difficult to use, very difficult to master. The M249, for example, I had to get like 1,300 kills before I finally felt like I understood the weapon and I felt comfortable using it, and I'm broad range of classifications. That's why it's my #1 weapon now. But those types of weapons are very difficult to use, and I feel like carbines are just the reciprocal of that, and not to mention assault too. But I would almost argue that assault, in a lot of respects, is a more difficult class or weapon class to run with than carbines, because they're very laser beam type accuracy. They're good for 1 to 2 kills, but there's always some kind of balancing aspect of them. There's a nice Ace 23 kill in the back. There's always some balancing aspect to the assault weapons, that being a reload time or fire rate. Look at, for example, here the Scar H to the bottom, comparing it to the Ace class weapons here. I mean, practically the same damage model as the Ace 52, practically the same recoil. The muzzle velocity of every one of those weapons is identical. So really, it's really interesting to me, like, why would a carbine like the Ace 52 have the same damage model as a support class weapon? I know that's an exaggeration. Here you can see me getting shot in the back by an AK-5C. I know that's an exaggeration, but it does do 34 damage, guys. I know it's a pretty quick drop-off, but still, 34 damage model carbine. Here's the Ace 21, which does not do 34 damage. This does your typical 25, but look at these ranges. Bear in mind the name of this weapon, Ace 21 CQB. That stands for Close Quarters Combat. And yet I'm plucking away at guys across the map. I'm getting hit markers on them. I'm getting assists. And we're just kind of feeding away at these enemies. And just extreme long ranges and getting suppression on the enemy. I mean, again, I'm not getting kills here, but I'm being a very formidable force that these players are having to contend with, because every weapon in this game delivers suppression. Nobody likes to get receiver suppression. So when you get accurate fire on enemies at long range, even with carbines, I start to question the legitimacy of these weapons employed on the battlefield, because it's not for these kind of situations, but yet they are still. This weapon in particular is an accuracy powerhouse. This is probably, I'm thinking now, yeah, this is pretty much one of the most accurate carbines. This up there with the M4, I would say, are the two most accurate carbines for getting consistent, tight grouping of patterns, tight grouping of spreads, that is. When I run with this weapon on the battlefield, I mean, my God, it's just not even fair sometimes, and I get killed by it all the time because it's a very easy, it's a good weapon. I mean, why not run with it? I mean, here I'm shooting a guy on a moving quad bike, no problem. I mean, I mean, why not use it, I guess, is the argument. And that's where this boils down to, is you see everybody running with these weapons because they are so effective on the battlefield. It is so devastating. And you see not even just new players, but experienced players running with them. Like I say, you just go out there and look at some of the top-ranked players out there. Look at their stats. I mean, the stats tell it all. The stats don't lie. There's a reason why people use these weapons, because they're powerhouses. And I mean, are they overpowered? Again, my concern. What defines an overpowered weapon? The reload time, the accuracy, the damage model, the run and gun effectiveness of it. I mean, whether or not it can outshoot any weapon all the time. I mean, you can't say that about every gun. Even the quote overpowered weapons will still get outshot by other weapons whenever they're in certain predicaments or based on the player skill level. But I mean, the general synopsis of overpowered weapons is that, to me, is that they're I think you can make a correlation between overpowered and overused. I mean, maybe that's a stretch to say, but you know, that was always a common gripe we had back in Battlefield 3. Everybody was accusing the M16A3 of being overpowered, and the other side, the sides that use that weapon, would make the argument, no, we just use it because it's good. It's not overpowered. It can still be outshot, which is correct. But again, if every good player, and this is where my big gripe comes into play, support class, for example. I play support most of the time. Now I have to come out and say it, but when I look at other top-ranked support class players that I'm competing with in the rankings, it's kind of frustrating to me to see that they don't even play the role of support because they don't run with LMGs. They run with carbines, and you can say that probably about a lot of players in, like for the assault class, for example, or engineer. Show me an engineer, top-rank engineer in the world. I haven't looked, but show me a top-rank engineer that does not use carbines, that uses PDWs instead. I mean, I haven't even looked, guys, but I can tell you for a fact that there's not going to be any top-ranked players that run with PDWs or carbines. So the PDW class is definitely, without a doubt, the most weak class, weapon class in Battlefield 4. There's no question on that. People just don't use those guns, even though they're not bad. They can't hold the candle to carbines, so there's something wrong there in the fundamental balancing of the game. And that's one thing I've always been very proud of about with Battlefield 4 is weapon balancing. But you know, in Battlefield 4 or in Battlefield in general, the weapon balancing is always good. But in Battlefield 4 in particular, I really feel like the carbines are just, there's something wrong here. If they're this good and everybody's using them in lieu of the actual class kit, then something needs to be tweaked here. You know, here's the A91, laser beam on, headshot, headshot across the map, no problem. Here it comes in a moment. I mean, reload times. This is the weakest part of this weapon. Is the reload time, and it's one of those carbines that does typically have this slightly longer reload time, but it doesn't really change its effectiveness on the battlefield, not too much. But this is definitely one of the more underused carbines out there, but you can still run with it and still get great scores. It's still very good accuracy, very good fire rate, damage model's good, and I mean, most of the time I don't even have attachments unlocked for these weapons because I don't use them that much. But you really don't need any attachments on these guns. Is another big observation I've made. So like I said, I mentioned, and it's not just TDM here that I see carbines on. I know that's probably what a lot of you will start saying in the comments if you make it this long in the video, is that, well, when you're playing a close quarters kind of game mode, this is where carbines really be focused. But again, if this is a close quarters map, why don't I see shotguns that much? You know, to me, shotguns in Battlefield 4, it's a huge surprise, but I just don't get killed by them that often because I think really they're more difficult to use than they were in Battlefield 3. That's why I can't use them. I'll be first to say it's very inconsistent damage model shotguns. I feel like I never get one-shot kills that often. And to be honest, I always get killed by carbines at point-blank range when I'm running with the shotgun. It's real frustrating when you're shooting first with the pump action and you get a hit marker on a guy, but he shoots through you with a carbine at point-blank range. It's like something's wrong here. So again, on these kind of game modes, carbines rule, and for the most part, I don't even see assault guys want to run with assault weapons because there's usually, like I said earlier, some kind of trade-off with assault weapons, that being a longer reload time or what have you. So that's, here I am running with carbines and assault in lieu of the big laser beam accuracy type weapons. Now this is the Type 95, the final carbine that you have access to. Another great weapon. I've seen players that I play with to swear by this weapon. It's very accurate, a bullpup type weapon, hip fire monster, and you throw a laser sight on this thing. You don't even have to aim half the time. And I'm not a big hip fire advocate out there, but a lot of people are capable of getting very accurate shots without having to aim down sights. So if you don't even have to aim down a sight or take the time to aim down your sights and you can shoot from the hip, it really gives you a huge tactical advantage yet again in close quarters combat. If this weapon is geared for both long range and close quarters combat, I kind of again want to make the synopsis that it has a tendency to be it's on that dangerous side of being classified as overpowered again. So this is kind of where I've come with a full circle with carbines. I'll still produce individual reviews of them. It's not like I'm blackmailing them or trying to bash them or anything like that. It's just my opinion of them is that I think when you compare them to other weapons out there, you can make the argument that carbines for the most part are more effective on the battlefield. Not just statistically. Statistics are a whole nother argument. I'm talking about practical application most 90% of your engagements are in these kind of scenarios. So you can kind of make the argument that carbines are more effective in those situations. Now this final clip is going to summarize it all for you here, guys, if you've stuck with me this long in the video. Let's talk about the ACWR. I mean, just another SG553-like type weapon. So I'm going to run through this team, close quarters, incredibly fast reload time, high damage rate, chewing through assault players, what have you, headshots, no problem at all with this weapon. So I'll chew through this team, and then I'm going to pick up a guy's kit and guess what weapon that is, and I'll go on rampage through that, and then at the conclusion of that kill streak, you'll see what I get killed by, and I think that pretty much summarizes the experience of Battlefield 4, the carbification of the game. Let me know what you guys think about this broad weapon class. Bear in mind, carbines on engineer class, the PDW class, comparing this weapon again to the Scar H, the Ace 52 34 damage weapon, the Ace 21, the close quarters combat carbine with extreme long range capability and accuracy. Take all these factors that I described throughout the video, just at least take them into consideration. Let me know what you think about this class. Does it need to be tweaked? What do we need to do to change it? Is it overused? Is it overpowered? Let me know in your comments. So, what do we pick up here? That's right, yet another carbine. And we'll tear up through a few more enemies to get killed by yet another carbine. So, yeah, the vicious cycle continues, guys. Thanks for watching. I encourage you to check out the stats out there, the top ranked players, or top beast players, see what weapons they run with. Let me know. Thanks for watching, and I'll have more Battlefield 4 content to come.